Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 76. It's Thursday, so we've got Jim F0123 Art on with us, and yeah, let's get into it. How you doing, Jim?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
It's so I put a sweatshirt on today, thinking,
me too.
Middle of October. October 19th, it's got to be a chilly fall day.
Right.
It's like 70 degrees outside.
Yeah, it is not. It is not. It's I saw there's another 70-degree day that's they're showing for next week as well.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saving on my heating bill, but my goodness.
For sure. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's okay. I'll take it. I'll take it as long as it stays.
Whatever it is, it is.
Yes.
So I wanted to run something by you because it's been kind of, so it's spooky season, obviously.
Absolutely.
And I have different products I put on the store for seasonal stuff.
Sure.
We put stuff up for the holidays,
exactly.
et cetera, et cetera. And there's this item I put up around Halloween. Excuse me. It's a Jack the Ripper letter.
Yes.
And it sells like wild. It sells. People buy it.
People love it.
But I have a little trouble with it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it feels kind of wrong. And we were very harsh when Dahmer came out and everything. It feels wrong to profiteer.
Right. This isn't a movie. This isn't something that's made up.
Right.
This
it's
is
not
real life that happened.
It's like this lunatic was running around killing women.
Exactly.
But the thing is, right? Because I've talked to a couple of people that are just like, very business focused. Like the art is what it is, but you gotta make the money.
Right.
And they were like, you should do more serial killer stuff. Serial killer stuff sells. And I'm like,
sure. Yeah,
it does, but like, it just kind of feels.
Yeah, you feel dirty when you do it because you're profiting off something that, families are still grieving over in a lot of cases.
Right.
And you're, happily cashing the check, so to speak.
Like, to be fair, like the Jack the Ripper stuff, like maybe the H.H. Holmes, the Albert Fish sort of stuff, like those killers that were around 200, 100 years ago or whatever.
Sure.
I'm pretty okay with that because it's done.
Right.
But like I don't know that I'd want to do anything with like a Ted Bundy or like guys that John Wayne Gacy, like guys that were around and the family's still hanging out. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But it's just weird to me that it sells because I know I've talked to you before about just not understanding kind of what moves.
The problem is though, I mean, there is tons and tons of movies and documentaries and things, of these serial killers, and they're also highly profitable for the companies that put them out because there's such an interest in these characters. Right.
It's real life boogeymen in a way.
And so, you look at it and you say, I have the potential of making money off this as well. And yeah, it feels kind of wrong because the families are still out there and they're still grieving. But at the same time, there's an avenue of making money off something, and there is a lot larger audience out there than probably there should be, but they are willing to spend on these
I can't keep the letters in stock.
Right. Right, exactly.
I do them nice. They're replica letters on the vintage paper and everything. But I don't know. It's one of those things that I've tossed around for a while, and I don't know where I land on it because it doesn't feel great. Like I said, the Jack the Ripper stuff is a little less of a deal for me because it's so long ago. But like, I don't know that I could do killers of today.
But I mean, how long has there been Charlie Manson. Marilyn Manson, of course,
took his last name.
Is using it for profit, right? I mean, as far as that goes, they all had serial killer names. But how long has there been?
The Beatles, Helter Skelter, right?
How long has there been Charlie Manson merchandise that's been out there that people buy? I mean, it's been around forever.
They make movies and I know. It's tricky for me because, I'm so connected to the art that it's like,
Yeah, I mean, it's a moral dilemma for sure, and I mean, it's one that you have to make a decision on what side of the fence you land on. And then, if you think that it's worth putting it out there and making money, because, again, we are trying to run a business as well and make money, you sometimes have to put your moral part of it aside for the business end of it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to run it by you, and I want to know what you guys think, too. Like, in the comments, let us know. Like, do you think it's okay to kind of make, sort of this morbid art off of the backs of kind of suffering, But let's move on. It's a little heavy to start, but, it's just something that's kind of popped up. Spooky season. Well, what have you been watching?
So I have a few things.
Oh, as do I.
Things.
As do I.
So I went back a little bit. A little treat called Trick or Treat.
Ooh, wait, Trick or Treat?
Trick or Treat.
I like
Indeed.
a trick. I got to tell you, that was in development hell for years.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I like Sam. He's a cool character.
Good character. And here again is a movie that it's not overly gory, it's not overly scary.
Fun. It's fun. It's a fun movie.
But I love the way that each segment interacts with the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it all comes full circle. So where it starts and ends, it fully is combined, except that, but it's separate little sub-movies within the larger movie.
Yeah, I love horror anthology like that. It's a blast.
It is, and it was fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's not heavy, right? It's not, like I said, it's not overly gory. It's not overly scary.
No, and there's elements
fun.
Of camp to it a little
lots
bit.
Of camp.
It feels like a Halloween movie. It does really well balancing horror and sort of the treat part of it. The campy sort of fun.
And then you get another horror type of icon in Sam.
Right.
You know what I mean? That maybe isn't on the same level as your major slashers go, but is still a really cool character.
Yeah, aesthetically, he's a cool character.
It's a really cool looking character for sure.
And he pops up, people agree. Like, he shows up.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was an enjoyment. And
that's a good one.
The other thing that I watched Phantasm.
Oh man, you really pulling it back.
But I didn't watch Phantasm 1.
Oh no.
I didn't just watch Phantasm 2.
Oh no.
I didn't just watch Phantasm 3.
Not the tall man.
I didn't just watch Phantasm 4, but I watched 1 through 5.
You had a Phantasm marathon.
I absolutely did. 1 through 5.
Here's the thing. Phantasm 1, even 2 is really good.
Really good. I mean, look, it gets a little, bizarre.
Yeah, it gets weird, man.
It gets really strange, as it goes on. But Phantasm 1 as a horror movie is, to me, one of the better ones ever made. I just love that movie.
It's just creepy.
It is. It's creepy. Again, you got another great horror icon type character in the Tall Man.
The Tall Man is scary, dude.
With the spheres, which are really cool as well.
Yeah, the one that hits the guy in the forehead and shit. It's crazy.
Drills his head.
Yeah, it's just the weirdest.
The blood is squirt. Like, it would never squirt like
cartoony.
that. But, right. But it is so good on the creepy element.
Yeah, but you're so bought in at that point that it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the thing is, you have the characters are all, even though in part 2, the young kid in the first one, it's not the same actor all the way through, though he does come back. But Reggie, the one character, it's the same actor all the way through 1 through 5. So you're talking about...
And the Tall Man is the same.
And the Tall Man is the same. And the funny thing is, the final one came out in 2016, right?
Yeah, it was like right before he died or something.
Right, he died like shortly thereafter.
Yeah,
so,
he gave his last of his lifeblood to it.
Absolutely, but I mean...
I heard he's the nicest guy, too.
I would imagine so. I really do. But it's just like... it's one of those things where when he just shows up on screen,
he just has such a presence.
Yeah,
he just has such a presence.
Absolutely. So, I mean, those are the movies that I've watched. Certainly, there'll be more.
Phantasm marathon.
Yeah, it took a few
brought
days.
That up?
Because they all came on.
Oh,
and you know what I mean, and they were all there, and it's like, hey, let's
a feast.
Let's watch them all. Almost every day.
Now, had your partner seen them before?
She had seen, I think, maybe the first couple.
Okay.
I had seen up to 4. I had never seen 5
I haven't
before.
seen 5 either. How was 5? I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, it's really bizarre.
Yeah, I bet.
Because the whole premise really is, is what's happening real?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Is it a dream?
Dimension?
Right. Like, what's going on?
And it keeps on, that whole theme keeps on
just
going.
It keeps amping.
It keeps amping. It keeps on getting stranger. So those were my choices.
Not bad. You did solid.
Thank you. What do you got?
So I watched a couple as well. So the first one I watched, I had a couple of marathons as well.
Oh, excellent.
The first one I watched was called House LLC.
House LLC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it got recommended to me by one of the Mortal Kombat guys.
Okay.
We were talking, and I was like, horror, and they said, "Oh, this is really scary. You should check it out." And it's found footage.
Oh, okay.
But it was really good. It was really well done.
I had not heard this movie.
So I enjoyed it, and there were 3 of them. And it gets, the second one is weaker than the first one, and the third one is weaker than the second one. But the first one is really good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. It's basically just about, there's this hotel that has, you go in and you can die, basically.
Oh, all right.
Spirits, creatures, who knows.
Sure.
But the found footage aspect of it, the acting is done well.
All right, good.
So that's a huge part of it.
Sure.
And the found footage element of it adds a layer. Like it very much, it works in the same way that like the Blair Witch works.
Okay.
So I thought it was really good.
Nice.
So if you come across
I'm gonna look for that.
That one's really good. And then I also did a throwback.
Oh, okay.
Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp. Boy, I haven't heard that one in a while.
Sleepaway Camp is such an interesting, I don't even know why I put it on. I was going through Screambox. I told you about that.
Yeah, right.
And it showed up, and I was like, "Fuck! I haven't watched this since I was a kid."
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me watch it as a grown ass adult and see if it still hits. It still hits.
Does it? Okay.
It is such an interesting, like the topics in that film, right? They cover. There's pedophilia. There's trans. There's trans stuff going on, obviously, with the thing at the end.
Right.
But it's such a fun movie, too.
Yeah.
Like, it is so fun in its cheesiness. Like, the fucking camp counselors smoking a cigar in the kitchen. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah.
They all have the short shorts. Like, and they're all, it must have filmed in, like, Long Island or something. Cause
probably.
They're all, like, New York Italian.
Yeah.
It is so funny. It's so good. Like, there's just something about 80s horror cheese, that just fucking hits.
It's never, you go back and watch it, and it's like, it's never bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's always fun.
But if it's bad, it's fun.
Right. That's what I mean. There's always something fun about it, whether fun in the camp of it, fun in the comedy aspect of it, fun in the visual aspect of it. It's always enjoyable.
Right, for whatever reason, Sleepaway Camp for me, because I was talking to another person about it, and they were like, "Oh, I don't like Sleepaway Camp. I think it's dumb." And I was like, "Yeah, but that's
the beauty.
The beauty
of
of Sleepaway Camp is it's got the horror element, especially at the end, that creepy, final scene." But the cheesiness of it, it's like a burrito. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be good without the cheese.
Right, exactly.
And then I did a little more research on it, because I'm like, well, is this considered a problematic, like, did this one skirt under the radar, or what's the deal? Because obviously, spoilers for a 1983 movie, but the killer is a woman who was forced to be a woman. It's actually a male.
Right.
The trans community loves it.
Sure.
And I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, okay. I can kind of get behind that in a way. And I got to tell you, they did, at least in my opinion, the way they kind of covered her dealing with her sort of, hormones and emotions, right? Because some of the boys were into her, and she doesn't know how to feel and everything. I thought it was done, like, for a movie that's 30 years old, 40 years old, whatever it is. It was done well.
Right. And that's because you didn't have societal pressure really on you to make it a certain way.
Well, I guess my point to it is, though, is like, I thought that the way that they kind of covered the transsexual element, like her dealing with the feelings, like worked even today.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Because she would like lean into it and then be like, oh, wait, no, I'm a boy, and then run away and stuff.
Right.
Like that element of the film, watching it now adds such a layer to it,
Yeah, and I think that's why the trans community does embrace it, because it
does nail it.
Right. It does nail it, and it's showing a truth to
kind of what they go through.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And they're not making fun of it. It's not mocking it in any way. It's actually showing it to be.
But I mean, she is bullied, right? And the other half of it is like, she's not killing everyone. She kills the fucking bullies.
Right. Sure.
I mean, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I think.
it's a great movie.
Yeah. So
I haven't thought of that one in so long.
I don't know. It came up, and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this since I was a kid.
Yep.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And it's still awesome.
Nice.
Sleepaway 2 and 3, however.
Well, yeah. That didn't,
I watched them though.
Didn't hit the same. Oh, did you watch them too? Yeah, they don't hit the same mark.
They're terrible.
No.
But Sleepaway Camp #1 is it's up there.
That's a good choice. That is a good choice.
That's what I caught.
Nice.
I definitely keep an eye out for Hell House, because that's real good.
Yeah.
What else you got for me?
So we know that coming down at some point we're going to get Daredevil Born Again on Disney+.
Not thrilled. Mustard Daredevil doing the walk of shame out of She-Hulk's apartment really soured the milk.
Absolutely. It's, with almost everybody. With almost everybody that's a fan of Daredevil, they were very displeased with the performance in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be an 18-episode series, right?
That's
so
great.
Really long for Disney+.
For Disney+. Who fucking puts out 18 episodes now?
Right.
You're lucky if you get 10.
No, exactly. I mean, they're not even close to that. So that's crazy in and of itself.
Yeah.
That it's going to be 18 episodes.
What story are you telling that's 18 episodes?
So they filmed 9.
Okay.
And then the strike happened. Right. So they had to put everything on hold.
Okay, so 9 are done.
9 are done. So as they put it on hold indefinitely, because,
they didn't know
when, right? And they're still not. They still can't come back yet, because obviously the strike for the actors is still going on.
They can write it all,
right?
Like that's generally how it goes. Right. Is like they'll get everybody back to work, and then the actors just show up and do their thing.
So as soon as the WGA strike lifted, word came out from Marvel that all of the writers, all of the directors, everybody that's associated with this movie, barring the actors, have been fired.
Wow.
Everybody. They cleaned house completely.
So the top 9 must be garbage then.
So Feige took a look at it. Well, he had the downtime, right? Because
he's not doing anything.
Right. Because one of the biggest problems that everybody has talked about is that Feige spread himself too thin. Too many projects. He can't be involved in everything. So he relied too heavily on people.
That's a good point. It's just that, back in the Infinity days and stuff, at least he had his finger on everything that was coming out.
Right. And he had people surrounding him that were professionals.
The mistake was Disney+.
Right. Absolutely. And the mistake was thinking that you could put out all that content and everything would be quality and that you could oversee it all. And he couldn't. And so
No, but no one could.
No one could.
It's not him. Nobody could do that.
It was a stupid decision on Disney's part to even allow that to happen.
Sure.
And so, but because of this, he had the opportunity to take a look at it and see what it looked like, what's going on, because he had the time now. And after he watched it, that's when all the firings happened.
I wonder if he watched She-Hulk yet.
Oh, yeah, he did. He did. And he enjoyed it for the most part because he's going to say that, right? So we don't really know for sure.
What I'm saying is, though, is that for him to sit down and watch Daredevil and fire everyone...
Well, the problem is he heard the backlash from the fans about the portrayal of Daredevil.
Right.
And then when he saw this, it made that look like the Netflix Daredevil. Like the She-Hulk Daredevil.
Oh, looked like Netflix Daredevil
right,
compared to this. Holy shit.
So, basically...
It's crazy because Netflix, like you have... The most interesting thing to me is you have a formula that works.
Right.
Everyone I know thinks that the Netflix Daredevil is fucking good.
Right. And have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
Right. And I have too. And
it's good.
And it's really good.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't tend to watch superhero shows. It's not really my bag.
Sure.
I watched fucking Daredevil.
And so this is what Feige said. Feige is like, look, this is what the barometer is that we're going to be compared to.
Yeah.
Now, we can't lean into it like that because we're family friendly. We can't go that R.
Which is a shame.
Which is an absolute shame. But he's like, but I saw the backlash from the portrayal of She-Hulk, and we can't give the fans that again because this will be a dead project.
But nobody wants that.
Right, nobody wants it, and it's going to be a dead project.
Here's the thing, is that Daredevil is very much, a grittier character.
Sure,
like
absolutely.
He always has been.
Right.
It's Hell's Kitchen. Like, it's always been that sort of, it's not Batman, but it's Batman adjacent, you know?
So, besides it being completely silly, they said Daredevil doesn't even show up in costume till episode 4. 4! Before we get an episode with Daredevil.
He didn't have a Daredevil costume at the beginning of the Netflix one either for a couple episodes.
Well, yeah, but
he had the blind,
But he's already Daredevil now.
Well, what the fuck is that?
You know what I mean? We've already seen him as Daredevil and She-Hulk. You know what I mean? This isn't an origin story.
Right. So
this is just a continuation.
What is that about?
Right. So they were just doing a law procedural full of comedy.
Who wants that?
Nobody. And that's what And then
and the other thing is that the Netflix touched the law side of it, but none of it was funny.
Right. And then the other part of it is because the Punisher is in this as well.
I don't know. Like, that to me is insane.
Yeah.
Because the Punisher is a hard R.
Right. And part of the story was going to be, the corrupt cops who took the Punisher symbol and are killing the innocents.
To be meta or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And Feige is like, no, we're having none of this.
No.
Everything is gone. 9 episodes in the trash.
They scrapped the top 9?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They're going to redo the entire series from Go, and with all brand new writers and directors.
Yeah, I think you have to.
Right,
I think you have to.
He saw this, and it's like, look, everything we're doing right now is failing.
And it
everything.
is. And the thing is, right, if you want to say to me, the reason the last 5 years have happened because the people in charge were spread too thin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. But you should be paying attention now because your company is in danger.
Right.
So now that you're paying attention, let's get this shit back on track.
Right. And so Feige and Disney and Marvel have come to the conclusion that they're going to start treating TV like TV. Right. So they're going to start having showrunners that are going to be overseeing the entire project.
Right.
And they're going to do a pilot episode, right? So
that's how it should be.
Right. Then that's how it should be.
They were ordering, again, 10 episodes without ever seeing anything.
Right. And the thing is, they were hiring, and then they were, okay, do what you got to do, and then we're going to try to fix everything in post.
Right.
And that's why all of these shows look so disjointed, because you're trying to fix it as opposed to fixing it at the beginning like normal TV would.
Yeah, but the thing is that people want to be able to binge.
Right.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way. you know?
Right.
I think what you do, I think the smartest way to go about this would be to do kind of what Castlevania did. You know, their first season is only 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And it hit.
Right.
And then after that...
Right. But they're hoping that, you know, changing to the TV philosophy is going to help with the quality. But
I think it has the potential to.
Right. But so, that being said, coming out of this and then hearing what, you know, took place with the contract, the new contract with the WGA.
Yeah.
What usually happens is the showrunners, they get to hire who they want as writers.
Right. They pick the writers. They pick directors. Right. They basically are in charge.
Right. And you didn't have that, right? Well,
who the fuck was running the show then?
The people that were hired, like just the writers were.
That's insane.
Just doing whatever they wanted,
That's
and there was
insane.
really no supervision.
You can't let the writers be in charge.
Of course you can't, and that's why we got things like She-Hulk.
I thought She-Hulk she was just the head writer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they had a director, you know, that tried to fix things in post.
Crazy.
But what came out of this, and one of the complaints that I've heard is that because you're going to go to this model,
yeah,
you're going to hire people now based on merit. And what you had before was you had X amount of diversity that had to be in the room, regardless of quality or qualifications. That's what you had to have. Now they've changed the model where you're going to have it where you're going to get hired on merit,
right,
to do these shows.
Right, the best person is going to get the job.
And so now I'm hearing some people complain, and I'm like, well, why does that mean white? Like, why does that... You're the best person for the job.
Right. You shouldn't immediately go to white on that.
And that's one of the things that I'm hearing complaints about, and I'm like, I don't understand. It's what they're saying is we're now going to hire the best person for the job. We're not just going to hire diversity for diversity's sake, even if they shouldn't be in the room. We're only going to hire people that should be in the room. And if you're so again, that's whatever you are, you are.
Right. I think you have to give them the opportunity to do that. And then take a look in the room, and as long as it's diverse, then you know that they're doing it right.
Right.
Now, if you go in there and it's a sea of white faces, then, you know, we have to have a conversation.
Right. But you have to now prove yourself. Right.
But that's how it should be.
And that's how it should be. And I don't care what race or sex you are.
Here's the thing.
You should prove yourself.
If you want to hire, you know, a young up-and-comer that maybe, you know...
Sure, give them a chance in the group.
Right, give them a chance.
Sure.
But the way they were just picking up anyone.
Right, and I mean, again, you have to have X amount of people in the room, right? I mean, that's one of the things that they talked about.
Right.
So, okay, if you want to give if you have 5 people that you have to hire, and one of them...
you only really need 4.
Right, you want to give somebody a chance, cool. I'm all for
but the
that.
Other 4 need to be able
the
to,
other 4 need to be quality writers that know what they're doing and are going to make a quality show.
Well, I think if that's how it's going to be going like, that's the thing is that, and I said this to you, I think, obviously, I think everyone should be paid more because fuck
and that's
the rich.
Going to happen now, yeah,
which is good. But just understand what comes with that territory is just that, you know, the budgets are going to be what they are.
Right.
So they're gonna pay more attention to who's in the room now.
And this is the other thing too, is because you have to shrink the budgets.
Now, not everything should cost $300 million.
Right. I mean, think about the Marvels that's coming out in a few weeks.
Now, I heard Brie Larson is done.
Yeah, and I've heard the same thing too. But
I honestly don't blame her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right.
She if she was smart, I would have backed off of this. I wouldn't even done this.
But see, here's the thing, right? And I thought of this too.
Yeah.
Did you have a problem with Brie Larson prior to Captain Marvel?
No.
And nor did I, right?
She wasn't like my favorite actress
but
or
I
anything.
didn't even really know Brie Larson prior to Captain Marvel, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I remember
I saw her in
from
like a couple things.
Yeah, like I remember like her in Kong Island,
Yep.
right? And I remember her from Scott Pilgrim versus the World. She had a small
she was
role
in
in that.
Yep.
Right? I mean, so I remember her in a couple things, but she was always kind of like a side character, right? I mean, I know she won an Oscar, but I have no idea what that movie is. I've never heard of it, never seen it, whatever.
Yeah.
But I had zero issue with her. So, and obviously, you know, she didn't do well in that movie. Captain Marvel, she did not perform well. And
No,
then her attitude...
I just don't think it was the right fit for her.
No, and I don't either. But it goes back to the same thing that we've talked about a lot of times. Because there's such a failure in the comics continuously...
Yeah.
Was anybody going to be able to take that character?
No.
Just like I said to you, one of the last times, right? Iman Vellani, the girl who's playing Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
She seems to be a likable person,
Who
right?
enjoys the comics and stuff.
But no one cares about that character.
Right.
And
it's hard to sell. It's hard, no matter how good of an actor you are. If people don't like. People liked Iron Man. They didn't love him,
sure,
but they liked him.
Right. He had a fan base.
Right. Nobody disliked
prior.
Iron Man.
Right. Exactly.
People would buy the comics, whatever.
Sure.
People love Spider-Man.
Right.
Right. People don't really care for Captain Marvel
and never have,
but
or Miss Marvel,
and never have.
Right.
It's the same thing with Ironheart. It's the same thing with Miss Marvel. Like no one has ever said like, you know what? This is the new class. But it happens in DC too. They try to bring in like the young new class, and it very rarely sticks.
But then put on top of it, you put a budget where you have to like get to $800 million to break even.
That was the hubris of it all. Was the fact that in the last 5 years, right? It almost seems like a grift. You would just come in, balloon the budget up to $300 million and then just turn in a fucking piece of shit.
Right. And that's going to stop now. And this is
as it should.
Right, as it should. Because you have to bring the budgets back down. Because it's not fair to anybody.
But the thing is this, right? Because I was talking to Paul about this in the last cast.
Okay.
There's a sweet spot of a budget.
Sure.
Where you still get the studio backing, but it's not enough where the executives are going to get involved. So you can have that sort of, like some of the best films are made on those budgets.
Sure, absolutely.
But $300 million should be reserved for, Avengers, Pirates of the Caribbean, like those real big franchise movies that do $1 billion.
A Captain Marvel 2.
That's not a $1 billion movie.
No. And again, we could sit there and say, well, the first one made $1 billion, but, only because we were told that it's in between Infinity War and Endgame, and you had to watch this movie to finish that saga. And we found out after the fact that, no, you didn't need to watch that movie at all, and we were duped into watching it, and the movie made the money because of it. But you don't have that luxury anymore.
Here's the thing. It wasn't like the worst movie around town. It just was. It was just very. It was like vanilla pudding.
Right.
It was like, oh yeah, this is very bland.
Yeah. And so but it's unfair to out of the gate. Hey, we have to make just like we talked about with Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah.
Right. You have to make $900 million to break even.
Here's the thing.
Why would anybody do that to anybody that makes a movie?
I don't know, because the Indiana Jones 4 didn't make, it wasn't well received.
No, it wasn't well received.
It's not like,
and it didn't make $1 billion.
Right, but it's not like you're resting on the laurels of that.
Exactly.
Like with Star Wars, it was like people when Force Awakens came out, people were hungry.
Right. Right. Yeah, you had the nostalgia the first time
we were
seeing
ready for another,
and it made over $2 billion.
Right.
And then subsequently, Rise of Skywalker made $1 billion. So half of your audience was gone by the third movie.
Well, I think Last Jedi turned a lot of people off.
Well, yeah, absolutely it did. But it's it's just one of those things where
like Indiana Jones shouldn't have cost $350 million.
Right. So the budgets have to come down.
Yeah.
And with that, because the writers are making more money, you're going to have the studios wanting better talent.
Where is that money going? So here's the thing. For Indiana Jones, if you told me that it was all VFX, I would believe you, because there was a lot of VFX. De-aging is very expensive.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
No, it's going to reshoots.
That's on the writers.
Right, but that goes back to it. Because you're hiring shitty writers,
you have to
continuously reshoot.
And reshoots are
that's killing your budget.
Reshoots are incredibly expensive.
Right, exactly. Because you have to bring back everybody. You have to bring back the actors. You have to bring back the directors. You have to bring back the music.
Guy.
Right, all of it. So because you're allowing really shitty writers to write your movies, and your actors aren't doing the best job either, your budgets are going crazy with all these reshoots. Then you get a disjointed movie. And you put on top of it, you're doing this with characters that people don't want in the first place.
It's kind of crazy that you frame it that way, because it's just classic deflection.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's just, you did a shitty job, and instead of owning it, you put it on the audience.
Right. Exactly. And so this is what's going on now, and the hope is that they're going to get a better product out of it, much like the first three phases. But who knows? We can't, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen.
So I wanted to talk to you about something else real quick.
Sure.
Just in the same sort of vein. So Goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Goosebumps?
Sure. Yep.
So they updated. I fucking know. They made it again. Whatever.
Yeah.
They re-upped it. So I was curious, because I
Okay.
used to watch it back in the day, and
Sure. Okay.
R.L. Stein is pretty impressive.
Sure.
It's good. It's good. It's fun, like for kids. It's fun for kids, right? But what I thought was interesting was one of the main characters is gay.
Okay.
Right? But it's not, nobody calls attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to have a romance with another character, right?
Okay.
But nobody's being weird about it. It's just like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, and like, yeah, we'll help you, whatever, if you're into that. Like, and I watched that, and I was like, that's perfect.
Right.
Because it's not a part of it has nothing to do with the story.
Right.
Like this person's gayness has nothing to do with the story.
Right.
They're just existing in this world.
Right.
And
that's doing it right.
That's doing it right. It's just having a character.
It's not the focus of the entire show.
But the love story, like he wanted to get with this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, ooh, like, like how you would be a teen teasing another teen. And that to me was so refreshing, because I was like, oh, this is good. Like, this is how you do it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like
right.
Nobody's giving them a hard time.
And that's how you do it right. Yes. Gay people exist. They're going to do the same things as straight people.
Right, it's all the same shit, and nobody cares.
But it's not what every story is about. It's not the premise of the movie isn't this person is gay,
right?
And we have to, and everything in the world revolves around the gayness of this person,
right? This person's sexuality,
right?
And to me, it's just like I'm wondering, because like Goosebumps is a nothing. Sony put it out. It's just a nothing, whatever.
Sure.
But I'm thinking to myself, like, how do they have it figured out? And someone like Disney can't figure it out,
right? Because Disney, has to make it the front and center of what they do. They have to make the message the important part, and the entertainment is the back seat.
Yeah,
where this was
that's
just normal. We have the entertainment, and this is a piece of that, but it's not what it's based on. We don't base everything on that. We don't have to keep on throwing it in your face.
I like the character.
Sure,
like I like that he was in there doing his thing. Like he fit perfect, and I was just like, oh, why can't they just do it like this?
Right.
Where they're just part of the world like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to call attention to it, that's when you're saying, to me, the way I view it is like calling attention to it like makes it seem like you think it's weird.
Yeah.
Because why would you have to call attention to it if it's just a normal thing?
Right. And, that the other thing, too, is you make it known that that's the focal point of what you're trying to put out. And some people aren't going to appreciate that, and they're not going to watch for that reason.
Right. Well, it's not what you sign up for a lot of the times.
Right. Exactly.
But here's the thing. I was good. I liked it. It was a fun little Goosebumps show. It's fun for kids. Like, it's updated and everything. But I just thought that was really refreshing.
Yeah, and again, we want those type of characters in these shows.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We want them, but we want them done like that. Like, hey, you're gay, cool. Anyway,
and I don't mind that you tell the love story either.
Yeah,
it's just like, but I just don't want it to be like, this is my battle,
right?
And everything else just focuses on that,
right? Exactly.
No, it's just like, you're just living in the world like everybody else.
Yeah, it's like, hey, want to go grab a sandwich? Hey, look at that cute boy over there. Cool. Yeah, go talk to him later. Let's go grab that sandwich.
Exactly.
Yep. And then you go grab the sandwich. Like, that's it.
But that's what I'm saying is, it seems to me that what I always thought was odd was when you make the message the focal point, right? It just seems weird to me.
Yeah. And the part of the reason why it gets rejected wholeheartedly is because
I don't hear a lot of the people from the community liking that either.
No, that's my point. They don't want that.
Right. They want to just be
They just
normal.
want it to be accepted as this is everyday life.
Because it is everyday life.
Because it is everyday life.
Right.
And when you put it the way you put it, it makes it seem odd, or it makes it seem like
it's not everyday life. Right.
And so the gay community, the LGBTQ community, have rejected the way Disney is doing it because it's not reflective
it's done
of
poor.
them.
Yeah, it's done really poor.
It's done almost to mock them in a sense.
Yeah, it's a very odd way to do it.
Right. Absolutely, it is.
I don't know. I mean, it's just crazy. But I mean, to circle back to Marvel, obviously, I'm hoping they are pulling the reins in. I mean, I really hope
I think that you have to. You have to.
You can't keep going like this.
No, you can't.
Because people aren't watching anymore.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we have Loki season 2 out.
Is anybody watching it?
No, not any, and not anywhere close to the first season.
I knew it was out because when I turned on the Roku, I saw an advertisement.
Yeah.
Like, how they changed the background? I saw an advertisement, and I was like, okay.
Right. But,
we're telling more Loki stories, really?
Yeah, but you're really not telling more Loki stories. You're telling more Lady Loki.
Oh,
because
it's not even Loki?
It is, but, it's girl boss. Like we had with Ahsoka.
Right.
We have with Loki. We're going to have with the Marvels. It's how much girl boss can we have.
I don't girl boss or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't fucking care what Loki's doing. Like, I'm done with that shit.
Right. Exactly.
But I was done with that shit when Thanos broke his neck. Like, I'm done with Loki. I've moved on. Give me something else.
Well, the problem is they
don't have anything.
They don't have anything else,
right?
Because this is
they've written themselves into a corner,
right? And this is what Kevin Feige wanted, and he's
but is this what Kevin Feige wanted?
So Kevin Feige said back a few years ago, after Endgame, diversity in women doubling men is where we're headed.
Okay.
And that's where we are.
But nobody seems to be tuning in.
Right. So it was a horrendous misstep by Feige not reading the audience. Horrendous. And this is where we are. And so now we're talking potentially that come 2027 when Avengers Secret Wars come out that we might be doing a soft reboot of the MCU.
Maybe that'll be for the best. I mean, I think...
Yeah, but will it? But will it?
I don't know how...
Because,
but here's the thing. I don't know how you fix it at this point.
Right.
Because you wanted everything to be tied together, right? And as a result, you have an incredibly strong first act.
Yes.
Your second act is incredibly weak.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we going to go?
Right. But the problem is, right?
Why not just do a hard reboot?
Yeah. But the problem is the hubris of Kevin Feige came into play, and it shows his shortcoming. Because, and we've talked about this before,
Yeah, he'll die on the Captain Marvel hill.
When Marvel Comics did this, when they changed all the characters to the all new, all diverse line, it flopped miserably. And Kevin Feige decided, you know what? I'm going to forego, 50 years of greatness to get to a few years of absolute abject failure, because this is what I want and I'm going to make it work. And it failed as miserably in the movies as it did the comics.
Here's the thing, right? Is that I would say arguably the best movie to come out of this middle section was obviously Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But taking that off the table, maybe Black Panther.
Sure.
But people don't talk about it anymore.
No. And the thing is,
because it wasn't that good.
But if you reboot it, what are you going to do? You're going to bring back the characters that are dead. You're going to what are you going to undo things that happened?
But the thing is that I don't know how else you can move forward.
Right. Typically, when you reboot something, it's for two reasons. One, you failed.
Which is where I'd say we're at.
Which is DC, right? The DCEU failed.
Right. So we're getting a reboot of DC.
Or you're resurrecting a dead property, right? Something that hasn't been around for a long time.
Right.
So are we admitting that the MCU has now failed and you have to reboot it because of failure? Because it's not resurrecting from the dead of an old property. So if you're even considering a soft reboot, you're admitting failure. You're admitting that you made a gigantic mistake and you failed.
Who cares if they admit it? We can see it. We've seen the train wreck in front of us.
I understand, but the thing is, if when they reboot the DCU, right?
Yeah.
What are we replacing that matters? Out of the DCEU, was there anything that we care?
Cavill's Superman.
Sure, but that's cool and all, but do we really care? I mean...
No, I mean, the movies themselves weren't anything special.
Right, but are we going to undo Iron Man or the Winter Soldier or the Infinity War or Endgame? Like, are we going to undo some of the greatest superhero movies ever made because you've painted yourself into a corner of failure?
I just think looking at the top half of the Marvel slate and what has come out after that it's bizarre.
Yeah.
How much of a dive it's taken.
Right. Like, again, if Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans...
Well, if you could get them back, you might be able to...
But what I'm saying is, if they decided they were done, you should have recast them. You should never have killed these characters off.
No.
You should have recast them and kept them going, because these are the characters that people go to the movies to see.
Right.
And again, yes, there's going to be comparisons to Robert Downey Jr. and maybe the next person. But like we talked about, you should have never, ever not recast Black Panther. Never in a million years should you have not recast it.
I agree. I think, obviously, no one's going to be Chadwick Boseman.
Sure.
But you can get someone.
Right. And I'm just saying, you should have done that and kept these characters going and told all these great stories. And then if you wanted to add some of these diverse characters in at the same time... Okay, what works.
Maybe you do X-Men. Maybe you start it with X-Men, and you can kind of start filtering characters in through that universe.
You should have got to the Fantastic Four. Again, we have fucking Hulk's son, and we don't have the Fantastic Four.
And Hulk's son was terrible.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? We have the new Avengers, or the young Avengers, I should say, almost completely there in the universe now,
right?
And yet we've not seen a single X-Man.
Or and Dr. Doom's nowhere to be found,
right?
And
so we haven't seen Silver Surfer.
We saw the abomination that was MODOK. Right,
exactly.
That to me is the pinnacle of where we're at. MODOK to me, if you had to say Thanos is the first act, MODOK is the second act.
Yeah, and that glaring as to the difference in the quality, but
why even put him in?
Yeah, but that's my question
is why even fucking do that?
Right. I mean, again, MODOK is a great character.
Oh, he's cool in the comics,
but
and
not that iteration of it.
That iteration sucked.
I mean, it was just like it couldn't be any worse.
It really couldn't, though.
But it's just you've gotten to the point now, like, what are you going to do? Like, when somebody shows up like Reed Richards, like the actual MCU Reed Richards, Iron Man's dead. Steve Rogers isn't Captain America. Thanos has come and gone.
Right. Like what? Are you going to have Wolverine and what?
Like
Doom
all these
or
great
Galactus? Like, what are we doing?
Like all these great stories that you had to tell, you now don't have the ability to, because you were so invested in having to go to the MCU that
here's the thing. You could have made it work if you knew where you were going. Like if all these like Captain the Marvels and all that shit, if that all came out, but there was this, a singular focal point.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was Galactus, whether they harped on Kang a bit more. Because, again, Kang was very watery. Like, if you didn't watch Loki, you didn't know who the fuck he was in Quantumania.
Right, for sure.
And that's what I'm saying is, like, there wasn't this uniting force to say, okay, in 5 years we're going to get an Avengers movie and they're all going to fight against this dude.
Right.
That just didn't exist.
No. And here's the thing, right? You could have added Captain Marvel into the mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, Captain Marvel, she has powers, but she shouldn't have been the all-powerful. You know what I mean? And she's certainly not a leader, but you could have added another female, and she could have taken the place of Black Widow, because obviously Black Widow dies, right? So Captain Marvel could have been your new, strong
if that's
female.
the way you wanted to roll with it, I think you would have been better to bring in like Storm, but
sure, or Rogue or any of it, right? But you could have made it work. But
Jean Grey, I mean, the list goes on.
But you've chosen to make it where, again, no hero's journey, powered beyond belief.
The biggest sin that they have done out of everything they've done is the fact that they have totally trashed the hero's journey.
Right. And that's the thing, right? We will go on the hero's journey
every time with
a female as much as a male.
For sure.
If you give it the hero's journey, we will watch the hero's journey, because that's what makes it exciting. Right, exactly. That's what makes it exciting, and we will buy into that character, and we will go along for that ride.
You have to earn my watch.
Right.
Which is why, Justice League fell flat, because you didn't give me any hero's journey for characters except for Superman and sort of Batman.
Sort of. Really not even.
Right. There was no hero's journey for these characters.
No. Just they all,
they were all just there.
Here's a tape. They all exist.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, there they all were.
Right. No hero's journey. Like, if you wanted to do it that way, and then we actually got to see the hero journey for each individual character, that would have been fine.
Sure.
And I think it would have done a lot better, and it would have taken a lot longer.
Right. But that's what made Avengers so great. We went on the hero's journey.
For each character.
For each one.
Right.
Even Black Widow, although she didn't get her own movie, we did get a journey with her.
Right.
Starting in Iron Man 2.
Right.
You know what I mean? And her character evolved. That's what we want to see. We want to take that ride. We want to see that origin. And again, Captain Marvel, we got the origin, but right away it was, I'm a pilot. I get zapped with alien, energy power, and now I'm the greatest superhero to ever exist.
Right. I mean, look at the hero's journey for like Tony Stark, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was a piece of shit. He was a rich partying billionaire who gets kidnapped and catches shrapnel in his chest, and then he has to, with the help of another man who gives his life.
Right. And he didn't care about people at that point, and here's a guy that's caring about him that doesn't even know him.
Right. Helps him save his life. Sacrifices his life.
Yeah.
And then we get the Tony we get, and then he, through the course of all these movies and everything, he becomes a human.
Right. And then, again, it's, hey, I don't care about the money because look at what this is doing
Right.
to people.
Right.
You know, now all of a sudden I care about people because now
But we understand why you care about
Right.
people because we took that trip with you.
Right.
And it's not the whole movie. It's
No.
it's a half an hour segment.
Right.
But it's so important,
Yeah,
you know, because otherwise we don't care.
exactly. If all of a sudden he just was Iron Man one day.
Right. Like if Iron Man just landed in the fucking...
Yeah, and he just freed, some hostages that were being held by a terrorist group. It'd be like,
Great.
yeah, cool, whatever. But, and look at Steve Rogers. Here's a guy fighting to want to fight for his country, but he's too small, he's too frail.
Right.
You know what I mean? Decides to, but because he has such a good heart, he was selected for an experiment, and
Right.
and he never lost what made him who he is. But we went on the journey of him becoming this hero.
Right.
Like we saw these journeys. Thor, same thing. We saw the journey. We care intimately about these characters because we went on that journey. We saw what they were and what they became,
Right.
and why we care about them as heroes. Again, if any of them just showed up, I'm the hero, I'm the best, screw everybody else, we'd be like, no, screw you, we don't care about you. And that's what we got for Captain Marvel.
Even Guardians of the Galaxy, you had the Peter Quill, origin, right?
Yep.
And then through the course of the rest of the movies, we got the other characters' origins, but
Right.
but our main character, we knew who it was, and
Right.
then obviously Gamora, we got her origin right away.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying is we knew who these characters were before the shit hit the fan.
Right.
So it's like, oh, I actually care about these characters. I don't want anything to happen to them, as opposed to someone just showing up and being like, I'm the greatest thing that's ever existed. It's
Right.
like, all right, cool. Why do I care if anything happens to you?
Yeah.
I don't even know you.
Right. And it's like, with Miss Marvel, right? It's like, oh, I'm a fangirl of Captain Marvel. And then, oh, I have these ancient bracelets. Oh, they give me superpowers. Oh, by the way, I have mutant genes. No one knew, but now all of a sudden I do. So just coincidentally, I have mutant genes, but
Yeah,
I was a fan.
It's like you're throwing things at the
Right.
wall.
It's like, is it really like you're a fan of a superhero, and oh, by the way, you are a superhero because you've got a mutant gene and you've got these bangles that give you superpowers, and you had this ability because it unlocked. It's like that's as bad of a journey as you could possibly write. Like there's no one's going to be invested in that. No one's going to care about that.
And the other thing is the reason why it worked so well when you had Tony Stark and Steve Jobs is Tony Stark was, snarky and full of jokes. Mm-hmm. And Steve Jobs.
I thought you were going to make it an Apple comparison.
Yeah, well, Anyway, the captain was the Boy Scout.
Right.
Who the jokes he made were corny if he
Right.
made jokes.
Right, because he's only remembers jokes from the 40s.
Right. So that was the thing is you had such a contrast between the two characters, right? And now everyone is just Tony Stark.
Right. Everybody.
And it's just like that's stupid.
Right. And that's,
But you wouldn't want that you wouldn't want that before either.
Right. And the thing is, right, you take everybody does quips here and there, right? Like
Sure.
we all do, right?
Right.
But if that's all you ever did,
But that's all they ever do.
if that's all you ever did, that would get annoying. If you're in a room with 20 people and all 20 people are always do it,
Just quipping.
like you would lose your mind. You'd want to start open firing on these people.
But the thing is, right, is that how do you bring Deadpool into this universe when everybody's already doing
right,
his
everybody's
shtick?
already Deadpool.
Right. It's just
Yeah.
like everyone's telling
Right.
jokes.
And you've already done the fourth wall breaking with She-Hulk. So
Poorly.
poorly, but you've done it. So there's nothing original there when Deadpool does it. I mean, I get that Deadpool did it first in his own movies, but that wasn't a part of the MCU. So, you've already had the fourth wall breaking.
It's
you
wild.
already have everybody quipping. So everything about Deadpool is already there by everybody, basically.
Right, but it's like the shittiest qualities of these great characters just seem to be the defining qualities of 90% of the current heroes
Yeah.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right, exactly.
It's just wild.
Yeah. And this is part of what, why they had to scrap Daredevil, because again, although Daredevil makes jokes here and there in the comics, that's not who he is. That's not what he's about.
But even Batman every now and then will drop something.
Right. They all do here and there.
But it's not, Daredevil's not a light comic.
No. And he's not a light character and should never be treated as such. And when you bastardized him so badly in She-Hulk and the fan reaction and backlash was so extreme.
You know what the problem is, though? Before we put this to bed, the problem is you got Charlie Cox to reprise. Mm-hmm. So people already have a Daredevil. Like, he played Daredevil. We already have a vision of him. Right.
And because those Netflix shows were a part of the MCU, that's what you were expecting. You were expecting that Daredevil.
Right.
And when you get this Daredevil, it's like, no.
Hard stop.
Right. That's why you had to scrap the entire thing.
I don't know. All right. With that, let's put this one to bed. My blood pressure. Jim, as always, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
What's going on?
Getting the art out. You know, every week we get a lot of horror related for the month of Halloween. So
Need it.
Yeah, so if anybody enjoys horror related characters, go check out the socials. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
All right, guys. So that's episode 76 of The Corner. You know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. Got a show coming up in November. We'll be at Northeast Comic Con down in Boxborough, Mass. If you want to check that out. But what do you guys think? I mean, what movies are you watching for the spooky season? How do you feel about the current state of Daredevil? I mean, is he your Daredevil? He's not my Daredevil. Do you think a soft reboot is the way to go for Marvel? Like, how do you fix Marvel? Let us know in the comments. All right, crew. We'll catch you on the next one.